The internet could be the most detrimental thing for your writing since the invention of sliced bread. Prior to the invention of sliced bread, writers used to get a lot of conflict out of the slicing of bread. It was a golden era of literature, but I digress. There's a lot of talk today about declining literacy rates and people putting down novels to pick up their phones. That's not what this video is about. This video is about the harmful effects that the internet and the behaviors it fosters can have on you, the writer. This is about how our modern digital hellscape is destroying your capability as a writer and some of what you can do to circumvent this. The internet has done a lot of good things for writers, but it has also done a lot of things that are very harmful to writers, and that's what I want to talk about today. And yes, I am aware of the irony of distributing this video on the internet, but we'll talk about that later. The first way that the internet could be destroying your writing has to do with how the internet tends to foster black and white thinking. Great writing is often built through nuance, subtlety, the tiny micro elements that a skilled writer peppers their writing with. The difference between a reader being brought to tears or just being brought to boredom is usually down to the subtle emotional cues that you're giving them. The difference between your gritty anti-hero being a lovable badass or an a-hole Mary Sue or Gary Stu is usually down to tiny elements of that character. The difference between an intriguing fantasy world and a loose bowel movement of world-building slop is usually down to the small details. Your ability to write well and understand what works from a character or a plot perspective usually comes down to how well you can understand gray areas. Absolute thinking or thinking in black and white terms will erode your ability to do this. Now, look anywhere on the internet and you'll see a rampant lack of nuance and a constant push towards black and white thinking, a categorization of everything as either good or bad, friend or enemy, right or wrong. You can't convey the nuance of a complex issue in a 280 character tweet or a 45-second short video. The nature of discourse on the internet requires that everything be instantly digestible and highly sensational. Nuance is usually not digestible, nor is it sensational. But to really excel at something as intricate as fiction writing, you need to spend a lot of time in the weeds. You need to spend a lot of time thinking about and dealing with nuance. The internet affects your worldview by making you think in black and white terms, in terms of good and bad. Spend too much time around this stuff and you will lose your ability to appreciate the gray areas, the ability to use all of the information in making a decision. This will negatively impact your writing. The next way that the internet could be destroying your writing is it makes you do things the lazy way. One of the main selling points of the internet is one of ease. Easy access to information, easy ways to connect with people, easy ways to find love, jobs, entertainment, etc. All in less time and with less effort and more choice. This is kind of the same sales pitch that like the frozen food industry uses. You don't have to buy ingredients or know how to cook or get any of your pots dirty. Just pop this thing in the microwave and blam. Easy, no mess sustenance. But just like frozen food usually isn't as good as a well-prepared home-cooked meal, the information and interactions you get over the internet are also potentially of lower quality. This can happen because either everyone has access to this information or because the information that you usually are drawn to is the easy to access information, or just because what the internet provides as far as information or interaction with other people is just a less effective facsimile for what it purports to replace. Here's an example of how this manifests. I frequently get asked by people, commenters on this channel, about finding a writing group or finding critique partners to help you with your writing. And one piece of advice that I usually tell people is not to look in the easy places to find a writing group. This usually means not looking online. There's a lot of places online where you could post and just kind of ask people if they want to start a writing group. But the kind of people and the kind of connections that you'll make if you take that route to finding a writing group probably aren't going to be that great. If you don't put effort into something like finding a writing group, then you're going to connect with all of the people who also aren't putting in that effort. You're likely to connect with people who aren't serious about it. They don't want to put in the effort. They maybe don't have a ton of experience. You're connecting with all of the people who aren't bothering to do something difficult to find a writing group. I think that the best writing groups are often the hardest ones to find because they either already have a group, the people who are participating in these groups, and therefore they don't advertise that they're looking for people, or these people are often fed up with being flooded with low effort requests from people who don't want to put the effort in, so they don't frequent places where these people are looking for writing groups. That's just one example of how the internet making things easy actually makes things harder. There's a broader impact here on your ability to expend effort and your own capability. Whenever an app or a website lets you do something in an easy way, that can be a way to increase your capability and allow you to do more, or it can be a way to reduce your capability. The internet has replaced paper maps and looking stuff up in a phone book, and that's probably a good thing. There are definitely things that are way more efficient to do by using the internet. But the internet has also provided a bunch of lower quality experiences and allowed us to be lazy about many different things in a way that is not healthy. The line between technology enhancing a person's capability and simply negating the need for that capability is very fine. And if you let the internet, it will make you lazier and less capable in all aspects of your life, including writing. Next way that the internet is destroying your writing, it consumes a bunch of your time. Of all the things I'm going to talk about today, this is by far the most important. You'll hear a lot about like big social media companies selling your data and that your personal data is their product and they're scraping all of your personal information to sell it off to the highest bidder. That's probably all true to an extent, but at the end of the day, what these companies really want is your time. They make money largely from you seeing ads, and the more time you spend on a platform, the more ads you see. If big tech is trying to brainwash you, it's mostly so that you spend an extra 10 minutes on their app and see a few more ads. This can be detrimental for obvious reasons. The time that you give to these apps is time that is not spent on your writing, time that you won't get back, time that you are trading, and what you get out of that trade is accomplishing less throughout your very finite lifetime. Now, I am fully aware of my own potential hypocrisy in this regard. I make some amount of money by shoving content onto the ever-growing pile of content that wants your precious time. And I ask myself quite often if I'm ultimately doing a disservice to writers by continuing to make these videos, which necessitates me asking for more of your precious time. I could maybe justify this by saying that the caliber of content that I'm producing, because it encourages you to do something productive like writing, is better than a lot of the other content out there, so I'm actually helping the problem, not hurting the problem. But I might just be making that up and deluding myself to make myself feel better. Ultimately, the time that you spend watching content, whether it's my content or anybody else's content, is time that you're not spending writing, and you have to make the decision for yourself whether that trade-off is worth it. I have something like 300, almost 400 videos on this channel. They're all an average of probably like 10 minutes long. So you could spend probably like 10 or 12 hours to watch all of my content. I'm not sure that you would be a better writer after that 12 hours of watching my content than you would be if you spent that 12 hours diligently practicing writing. Time is an incredibly important resource, and I think there's a very strong argument that the best use of that time is to practice and improve your skills by engaging in an activity like writing, assuming that's what you want to improve your skills in. Of all the things that the internet does to people, taking away hours of your day is one of the most common things, and it's also probably one of the most damaging. So in the interest of not wasting any more of your time, I'm gonna move this video to its conclusion. So there you have it. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts on what I've covered today in the comments down below. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can check out all my other writing advice related videos and subscribe to my channel. Yes, I feel a little bit sick inside saying that after what we've just been discussing. Anyway, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Potentially. I don't know.